The Zork series have generally been regarded as the text adventures for a very long time now, and have been personal favourites of mine since I learnt how to type "look north" and probably a lot of swear words on my Commodore 64 keyboard. Unfortunately, due to an initial high price, non-availability, and the fact that I only ever saw them on floppy disk, these classics have been overlooked by many an intrepid adventurer. In 1987, a cassette tape version of Zork I for the Commodore 64 appeared. This is the only Infocom game that was ever released on cassette tape, and thanks to the format, the entire game had to fit in the system's 64 kilobytes of RAM. Consequently, Mini Zork is even more condensed than Zork I. If, like me, you're old enough to remember when cassettes were stuck to the front of magazines, then be pleased to know that Mini Zork also came bundled on the magnificent Megatape 11, gloriously attached to the front cover of Zap 64, number 67, in November 1990. The original game, developed between 1977 and 1979 at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, was inspired by Colossal Cave Adventure 1976, the first well-known example of interactive fiction and the first well-known adventure game. All Infocom adventures are text only, but they definitely didn't suffer because of this, as the quality and depth of the location descriptions are so good and convincing that you didn't really need graphics, just a good imagination. Something else that puts Infocom adventures head and shoulders above other text adventures is the brilliant interpreter used and the incredible array of responses. The three Zorks are all interlinked adventures, inasmuch as the end of Zork I leads to the beginning of Zork II and then on to Zork III, but each can be played as a separate game without losing any individual appeal, as they technically don't seem to follow a linear storyline. Zork allows you to explore the great underground empire and all its secrets. You start outside an old, dilapidated house next to a forest. Getting into and exploring the rather small house leads to more than a lantern and a sword, for it is the gateway to the underground empire itself. One of the things I remember as clear now as I did all those years back is when the text would appear. It is pitch black. You are likely to be eaten by a Grue. You see, they are famous for their horrible fear of light. No Grues have ever been seen by the light of day, and only a few have been observed in their underground lairs, so it's advisable to turn on your lantern before venturing further. I must admit, I love these atmospheric adventures, but have you ever heard of John Robertson? That guy is nuts, but he created an interactive text-style adventure called The Dark Room, and it is fully interactive with the audience. I love it that much, I'm linking it to this video. Be sure to check that out. Below ground you will encounter a rather nasty troll, an even nastier thief, and Hades itself with its foul inhabitants. There is a tricky, twisty maze holding several secrets within its multitude of passages. Then there's the Great Dam, needing careful attention, but does it still work? There are many magical things in Zork, all residing in a province in the northern part of the wastelands, known as Frobos. A wealth of objects and treasures are to be found, amongst them the jewel-encrusted egg, whose secret has been the breaking point of many a fearless explorer. All treasures must be taken back to the house and placed in the trophy cabinet therein. Collecting all 20 treasures and successfully returning them to the case will earn you maximum points and finish the game. Or will it? Zork is packed full of excellent and atmospheric descriptions, some superb fight sequences, responses, and, above all, a very wide vocabulary. Puzzles are numerous, tough, and sometimes humorous, and overall make this a difficult and enjoyable adventure to crack. Zork II, as stated previously, starts off where Zork finished, and lying at your feet are to be found a strangely familiar sword and lamp. Any major similarities, however, stop there, since Zork II deals more with magic and has less locations but more depth. Again, location descriptions are lengthy and detailed, and unsurpassed by any other brand of adventure, as is the case with the massive and impressive vocabulary. As with Zork, there are numerous objects to be found and manipulated, but there are less treasures to collect, and the way that they are used to finish the game is more devious. The locations range from a gazebo in a beautiful garden, to mist-filled rooms and a rather volatile volcano. Once a small problem involving a large bucket is solved, some interesting and dynamic cakes are to be found, along with a very useful but servile robot. An extremely bored dragon lurks below ground, who takes a bit of persuading to move. This leads to the discovery of many other items, amongst them a beautiful princess, some more treasures, and more trouble. There is a strange maze to figure out, the solution to which is in fact not that obvious due to the Americanisms on the part of the programmers. Well, I suppose they do come from the United States of America, so can't blame them there. I still have never played baseball in my life. Occasionally, the Wizard of Frobos makes an appearance and casts a spell on you, which always begins with an F. This usually affects you in some way, so it's best to wait around for a while until eventually it wears off. The tables turn though, when later you acquire the same wand and put it to good use. Finishing Zork II is quite a bit trickier than Zork I, but follows the pattern with a similar sort of humour, quality and excellent atmosphere. Zork III is the finale of the trio, and starts effectively where Zork II ends, and it's quite a bit different from its predecessors in both scoring and play. The object of Zork III is to become the Dungeon Master and rule Frobos. This requires considerably more skill than the other Zorks, whereas before, scoring was into hundreds of points. In Zork III, you can only get a maximum of 7 points, because they are only awarded for certain events. I used to think this was a bug in the game at first, threw me off a little. Zork III combines a few of the locations and objects from the first two with a totally new and original scenario. The lamp is here as well as the sword, but you can't take them at the start, since it has become embedded in rock, and so are several other objects. There is a bit more magic involved, and in general the puzzles are a lot harder, and in some cases more obscure than before. The locations number fewer than Zork II, but are as highly detailed and atmospheric as usual, blending well with Infocom's excellent parser and responses. This is a lot harder to complete than the other two Zorks, but is by no means less fun to play. All three adventures offer such exceptionally high quality, and should definitely be played instantly by those amongst you who have yet to sample such exquisite delights. Thanks for watching, guys. Text adventures are amongst some of the oldest types of games, and I would literally sit in my bedroom playing these absolute classics back in the day, using my mind's eye to create some fantastic adventures. How about you? Did you ever get far with the Zork adventures? And is there anything in particular that springs to mind when you reminisce about these classics? Let me know in the comment section, and please don't forget to hit the like button. Also, if you're enjoying the nostalgia, then please consider subscribing to the channel, as we delve even further into the catalogue of games for the Commodore 64. If you don't, then you're likely to be eaten by a Grue. Thanks again for watching, and until the next one, bye for now. Just want to take a moment to thank the following patrons. It's massively appreciated that you're supporting the channel, covering the games we love. Stay retro.